Find your people, Mandee. See, I'm going to get it right if I say it quickly at the top of the show. We're finding our people. And I found you. I found you, Mandee. I was so worried. Our
It was my
friends,
headlamp. My headlamp helped.
look, that headlamp was giving me life yesterday. I'm so glad you're good. And are you going to tell us all about that when we get to your time?
I'll be glad to.
Okay, well, I'm just glad you're safe. That's the main thing. And I'm
Thank
glad
you.
you have Wi-Fi and power so I can talk to you and see your
I
pretty
know. I
face.
know. I know. Had to go elsewhere to find it, but here we are.
I know, right? Well, I'm glad you persevered. Um, so before we get to your week, I thought I would tell you about mine. I had the best day. So my friend Maddie, she's now Maddie Herlog, but she's Maddie Henderson, who is a chaplain in the United Methodist Church, and just so happens to be my chaplain at Emory and my
Nice.
friend.
Nice.
Um, she suggested when I started school that I every semester after I'm done take a day for myself. She said, take yourself to brunch, go somewhere new and different every time, go to do whatever, go to the museum, do whatever you want. But you've earned it. So take yourself out for the day. And so I started doing that. And it's one of my favorite things to do. And so I had the best Katie day this week. It was a little delayed because of Christmas, but I got to do it. So I went to brunch at a place in Midtown called the Flying Biscuit.
Well-known Atlanta
It
institution.
was delicious.
I thought that was where you were when you sent me
Yes,
the tablecloths.
I did. I sent
Gave it away.
It did. It's so good. I hadn't been there in a while, so I was glad to go back. They have a great brunch menu, and they serve their mimosas in large juice cups and not in dainty little anythings. And so and they make them right. So it's mostly champagne and very little juice.
Yeah. Susie and I recently had this conversation when her cousin Butch was in town. I apologize, friends. I don't have my microphone. I know I probably
And
sound
she's
like,
not in a closet.
and I'm not in a closet. I spent enough time in a small space yesterday.
Mhm.
Um, but Susie and I were talking about she likes a Bellini.
Oh, wow. Look,
And so she was asking about that, and then we moved on to Cosmos, and she was saying for mimosas and for Cosmos, the color is very important. You
yes,
just want a splash, as Kelly Stafford would say on her podcast.
yes, that's
Just
it.
a splash.
So I decided instead of a regular mimosa, I was going to get a poinsettia, which is a splash of cranberry juice and like half a bottle of champagne. But the good news is you get enough food where, I mean, I was full. I didn't
Yeah.
eat till dinner. So it was so nice. I sat there and continued reading The Covenant of Water.
Which you may be doing the rest of your life.
Getting closer. And I had that beautiful poinsettia and a great, great breakfast. I did a eggs Benedict, but it was with honey fried chicken. And it was
Nice.
delicious with the sweet and the savory, which I love that combo. So it was really, really good. Flying Biscuit, highly recommend. Try to go at an off time though, because they get real busy because they're real popular. But it was very, very good. And so I did that, and then it was not far at all to the high. So I went to the high, and what I didn't realize, Mandee, what I should have looked up, but I guess I've never been on a Thursday, is that Thursdays at the High Museum are toddler Thursdays. So I get there and I'm like,
You had
gosh,
you had distraction while viewing your tapestries.
there were a lot of small children here today. What is up? And I was like, wow. When I got up to the counter to check in, and he said, oh, it's Toddler Thursday. You should come on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And I was like, Thanks.
That's great that they
Great
do that.
information to know on a Thursday.
That's great that they do that. And I'm sorry that you were there.
Well, so what I did was I went to the more adult exhibits while they had their morning, and then by lunchtime the kids were either eating lunch or ready to go. So it worked out fine, but when I got there, I was a little concerned. So for all of you who live in Atlanta and go to the high, avoid Thursday mornings because there were 2 school groups and toddler Thursday. But
Mercy.
they have a beautiful photography exhibit down on the ground floor now that I had not seen, that I just loved. It was the South through the decades, and it started back like at the beginning of photography. And there were just some beautiful, beautiful things through the civil rights movement to now. It was a really good exhibit. So, highly recommend. And then they're working on an exhibit about Paris. So, that'll go up. I think they said in February. So, I'll have to have another day at the high. And then, of course, because I sent you pictures, Mandee, I had to go visit my tapestries. These beautiful quilts that are, just old and beautiful and all done by hand by these Appalachian women that don't have names. The fact that and I think that's why I'm so drawn to stuff like that, is because we see, even though we don't know who made them, we still see the beauty and the handwork that they did, and we honor that. So I love that. Also, love a Renoir and a Monet. They have several of those, and
Yeah. Yeah.
all the things. So yeah, so it was a great, great day. And then after that, and I'm really kind of embarrassed that I have lived in Atlanta as long as I have and have not been to on a pilgrimage to the Mecca of food, the DeKalb Farmers Market. Have you ever been?
I have not.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So next time you come to Atlanta, we have to go. Another activity that should be done on an off day. On the weekends, it is buggy to buggy traffic people in there, and it's totally worth it, but it's hard to get around. That's where I got some Florida strawberries.
Nice.
Because you told me to. And again, I do everything Mandee tells me. I got they have when you say farmers market, it doesn't really describe it adequately, because it's not like an open air farmers market like we think of in the South. It is more of a international grocery store on steroids. So there are walls of spices, some of which I've never heard of. There's a whole end cap of just pink Himalayan salt. There are rows of grains and rice and these great relishes and Asian foods, and there's a really good wine and beer section, and then you go into the vegetables, the fruit and vegetables, and it's all like from all over the world, but it's also local stuff. So if you've ever watched Chopped, do you watch Chopped at all? Do you know what that
I-
is?
I've seen it like once or twice.
They
Yeah.
give them these really
Yeah.
random wacko
Yeah.
ingredients. Well, if you go to the Cab Farmers Market, they're all there.
You
Like
can
the
play
weird
chop.
vegetables, yeah, are there. That's where they go source their food, I'm sure. But it's just so there's that whole section. And the bakery is just, oh my gosh. So I got my favorite things to get are the sourdough bread, and they come in half loaves for all of us single girls and guys out there in the world. They do half loaves because full loaves sometimes go bad before you can eat them all by yourself. The sourdough, when I tell you, open it and the smell that comes from that bread is the most beautiful sourdough smell. So I got sourdough, I got they make their own sandwich meat, so I got their roast beef and I got baby Swiss, and make the most glorious hot
Yum.
sandwiches with it. It's they have a whole section of cheeses from all over. They have not just their own sandwich meat, but they do like salads, and They do sausage, and I got bacon. They're my favorite. It's my favorite bacon. Um, there's a whole seafood section with live seafood tanks and fillets and whole fish, and they have goat and like any meat, seafood, any food, any from any part of the world, they have it.
The
It is
Calf Farmers
really,
Market, if you are perhaps listening and would like to hire Katie to do your ads for you,
they don't need it. Let me tell you,
I would suggest that you have found yourself a fan.
you would love it. You would
I
really, really
believe
love it.
you.
It's so much fun. So I also got the vanilla was very hard to find because they keep it in a cooler, not with the other spices. So the other thing that I love about the Decaf Farmers Market is that they
I thought
have,
you okay, wait. When you started all this, you were saying you were embarrassed you had never been before.
well, I haven't been since I moved to Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
used to go all the time.
Okay. Got it.
But since I moved, it's been a year and a half and I haven't been. I've been to
Gotcha.
Trader
Okay.
Joe's 5,000 times. I haven't been
Right.
to Decaf Farmers.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry, I was just a little
No, no, no,
confused.
you're good. I'm glad you clarified that. So the employees are from literally all over the world, and their name tags have what languages they speak. And nary a one of them is English.
Hmm.
But it gives you such a wide variety of humans. It's the most beautiful thing. Guarding the vanilla was one of the best humans I've ever seen ever. She is this little bitty Russian woman that maybe had 3 teeth, that was so sweet, but I guarantee you she would fight you and kill you if you tried to get some saffron or some vanilla out of that cabinet.
Believe it. My dentist is Russian.
I love it.
She has all her teeth. But yes, she definitely has that
Yeah.
like Spitfire little
Yes.
like
And this one was
I
like
feel sorry for the
185 years old.
I feel sorry for this lady's hygienist because she speaks to them in a way that I'm like, ow, that hurt my feelings.
Right. Right. Same thing. This little Russian lady was guarding the most expensive things in there, which is the saffron and the vanilla. And you have to like go up and take your little
Say the
money and be
magic
like,
word.
I would like to please have some vanilla beans. So I have some more vanilla roasting in the, not roasting, but soaking. But
Good.
anyway, it was just great. And if you ever do go, they don't take credit cards. So you have to do cash or you have to do debit card. But it is just the most magical place. I just
Well,
love it. So
I'm so glad you
it's,
got a visit in.
I know it's not far from Candler, so I'll definitely be going more. In fact, I kind of drove past Candler. I was like, what, how have I not been here yet? Since I'm like, what am I doing? So anyway, but highly recommend. It was the best day. It was a very Katie day. There was tapestries and food. So what more could I
Good.
want, right?
Good.
Um, and then Monday night was our last football game of the season.
Yes, it was.
And it was Michigan. Yeah,
College
last
football.
college football game. Yes. So it was Michigan and Washington. And so here are my thoughts. I'm going to do a quick rundown again like I did last week because we're at the end. I know y'all are just thrilled to hear me talk about this yet again. So Ben the dog, Kurt Herbstreit's dog, is still my favorite part of all of this now.
I mean,
If he
dogs are the
doesn't come
best.
back next year, I'm going to be really sad.
Dogs are the best of everything.
And I don't, what I noticed this time, and I've always noticed it, but like they must pay a lot to a groomer because that dog is coiffed. I mean, he gets a
Listen,
blowout. He has
I
to get a
need to
blowout.
I need to get his name because we got two doodles in Nashville that could use a little assistance
Seriously.
most of the time.
Lee Corso was so much more coherent and alert because it was at night. College game day was on before the game, which was a night game. And they need to either, I don't know how they can make that work, maybe record him the night before. I don't know. But he was much better at night because he's had a chance to wake up. So let the man sleep. Although he did, and then Herbie started saying Washington, and it just made my day. If they
Are they
said it
from
once, they
Missouri?
said it 5,000 times.
Are they from Missouri?
No, or South Georgia.
No,
My
'cause that's
sweet grandmother said
Missouri.
Washington.
Well, I don't know where she got it because when we moved to Missouri when I was in kindergarten and they told me to go wash my hands,
I
I
know,
sat
right?
there and cried because I didn't know the hell they were talking about.
But if Lee Corso said Washington once, he said it 5,000 times. Here's one that lets my arts nerdness show through, right? So
Yes.
I was looking at the opening, which I love a good intro. I love a good build up, like the theme music for the Olympics always makes me cry the first time I hear it every year. And so they played a new college playoff theme song and they showed the orchestra playing it. And I went, is that frickin' John Williams?
Cool.
John Williams orchestrated the new opening for the college game day or
That's
college national
awesome.
championship game. It's beautiful, but I had people laughing at me because I knew I knew who orchestrated it. And for the record, people that aren't as big of a nerd as I am, that's the same guy that does all the Spielberg things.
I was gonna say, like, you ought to know John Williams.
Yeah, you hopefully. Um Fantasia sang the national anthem and I love her. I adore her. I mean, Whitney and Chris Stapleton are still the top 2, but she's definitely top 5. It was really good, and sometimes it can go really wrong.
Well, good.
But she
You
did a
know,
great job.
just point of order. Um, you do realize that they sang at the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
and yeah, this was the college
Oh, yeah,
championship.
but in all of
I, I
sportsdom,
I realized that for you, this was the Super Bowl.
in all of sportsdom, though, like, they sing it a lot, and there's
I
some
hear
people
you.
that don't sing it well,
I hear you.
but I love her, and I thought she did a fantastic job, so kudos to Fantasia. She's having a moment these days.
He sure is.
And so finally we can get to the game. Apparently, cheaters do prosper. Michigan won. A friend of mine, he was my camp counselor for years and years, one of the funniest humans I've ever met in my whole life. Um, Earl. Earl posted on Facebook, he said, it's almost like Michigan knows what plays Washington is going to run, which made me laugh hysterically. Um, so
For those of
Michigan
you
did
for
win.
that for those of you not as embroiled in college football, uh, Michigan was caught stealing the other team's signs earlier this year, and their head coach was suspended for a couple of games because of it. So that's why that was funny.
Right. Jim Harbaugh, who's the head coach at Michigan, um, I liked from his season on Hard Knocks. I don't know if you've watched that season of Hard Knocks. It's really good, mainly because his closet is 2 things. His closet has khaki pants and blue shirts, and that's it.
You talked about that before.
So I like him.
Uh-huh.
But his brother is the coach of the Ravens, which a certain someone does not like the Ravens at all. So I think I'm going to pull for the Ravens just to piss that certain someone off in the postseason. But their dad was also a coach, and to see the 3 of them after the game was really precious.
Yeah, that was cute.
So yeah. I unfortunately in my little fun not for money pools picked Washington because I picked with my heart and not my head this time, the one time this season that I picked with my heart and not my head. So I lost all those points. But it was a pretty good I thought it was a pretty good game. I thought
Yeah,
Washington.
I didn't watch the beginning. I can't remember why. But I watched the end. And I'll tell you what I was impressed with was little JJ McCarthy,
I
the
love him.
quarterback for Michigan.
Yeah.
And they were showing that like before the game, he walks on the field in his bare feet, like
Yep.
for grounding, and then he sits down in front of the goalpost and meditates.
Yeah.
And I got so tickled because he was sitting there and there were like 10 cameras around him trying to film him while he's trying to meditate.
Yeah.
And then they showed him, I can't remember if it was, I think maybe it was after the third quarter, maybe. And I don't know if he does it after every quarter, but he goes and checks in with the mental skills coach, which if these people would start calling, I wish teams would start calling these people therapists because that's
Yeah.
what they are.
Yeah.
But like just goes and checks in, before they, while
Oh,
they've got a minute to make sure where he needs to be. And the fact that they are, just so open about that and encouraging about it, I think that's great.
yeah.
Especially as we head into Olympic season and
Yes.
after everything we went through with Simone Biles at
Right.
the last Summer Olympics and her work to make mental health as big a part of the Olympic training as the physical health. I just think that's such a good thing and it come such a long way in normalizing all of that. I think that's great.
I totally agree, and I really like him a lot. I also like the this is the reason I picked Washington is I really like Michael Penix Jr. as
Mhm.
well. He has
Mhm.
overcome extreme injuries. He has 2 new knees at such a young age, and he played hurt most of the game. He's just a good he's the one that at the, he was up for the Heisman, he's one of the finalists, and at the Heisman ceremony, he wore a beautiful suit, a purple suit, and then he opened up his jacket, and he had printed on fabric all of his teammates' names because he knew that this was not something that he had done by himself,
That's
and
so nice.
I love that, and I love him, he's gonna do great in the NFL, so is, McCarthy, and, there's so many others, but I was just it was I thought it was a great game, and, there are a lot of people, my friends, air quotes, that are Georgia fans, are still mad, but, I mean, I thought it was a great game, and I thought, it was 2 teams that deserved to be there, so I loved it, and I am sad that this season is over, but I'm hopeful for next year. Auburn already has, fired their offensive and defensive coordinators.
Oh, really?
Yes, indeed. So we will see how that goes.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So, next up, I know we talk about the Olympics a lot, and that is kind of next up, but next up, I think it's our favorite college baseball season.
Heck yeah, baby. We gotta get through the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yes.
college baseball season usually starts around my birthday, middle of February.
Mhm.
And so I think Mandee released its schedule already, and I want to say they start February 16th, maybe. They start with a tournament um somewhere in Texas.
Okay.
And I think it's 4 teams that will play in that tournament. So heck yeah, real excited for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Although I'm a little nervous about the Vandy boys. They needed a big bat. They didn't get a big
Mm.
bat. Um, and in
Yeah.
other baseball Braves news, they signed a big pitcher.
Oh, good.
It'll be interesting. He's a little problematic. He's been a little he's been hurt some. And he also I think at one point punched a TV. And maybe
Oh,
kicked a cooler. Like he's a little bit of a
oh,
hothead, which doesn't play real well in the Braves dugout.
no.
But when he has been on, he's been really, really good. So his name
Okay.
is Chris Sale. I want to say he started either game 1 or game 7 of the 2018 World Series for the Red Sox. So he's been in big games before.
Good.
So hopefully he's healthy. Like this has been his first regular off season, as they like
Yeah.
to say. So hopefully he'll do good. But yeah, we're getting close, getting
Do
cranked up for some baseball.
Are you a basketball fan at all?
Not really. Like if I'll watch, I think probably the last NBA final series I watched was when LeBron won it for Cleveland.
Okay. Well, Auburn's doing really well this year, and I can't
But
decide if I'm
I do like
up in
so
that pool.
I will watch the March Madness. Because I do like a
Yeah.
Cinderella story. I don't know if you know, but Mercer beat Duke one time.
Sanford has gone pretty far before, not
Mercer beat
recently.
Duke one time.
Yeah, we
Like,
beat I think we did too, or North UNC, somebody. I mean, this was like 10, 15 years ago. It was at right after I graduated, so more than that actually. I'm just doing some Katie math in my head about how long ago that was.
I hate to break it to
Ouch.
you.
Ouch. Yeah, no, yes, Mercer. When I was in Macon, I used to go to games. I love going to Mercer. I love a live sport. I don't love basketball on TV, but I love in person anything.
Yeah.
And so I sat with Bill Stembridge half the time. Our friend Bill Stembridge that we've talked about. He's a season ticket holder for every Mercer everything, and so I would visit with him and we would go watch. They're great. They're really good, I think. And sometimes they do make it to the March Madness. So I'm hoping Auburn does this year. We killed Arkansas the other day. And
Good.
so we'll see.
Gracie says hello.
There's Gracie. Hey, Gracie girl. She just looked at the screen like, I don't know who
Let's
that
just
chick
hope
is.
she doesn't fall off. She's performed her one gymnastics
Yeah,
trick for the podcast
yeah.
for the year.
Well, Mandee, you've got, I tell us, I can't wait to hear your list. I did not watch the first thing on your list I normally do, but I did not this year because it was not what I watched.
Well, I didn't get to watch the actual Golden Globes because let's just talk about cable for a little bit. I used to have cable as part of the HOA package. We had cable, and then they cut that out, and so I haven't subscribed to cable myself because it all stinks around here anyway.
Yeah,
But you think, like, I Googled, can I watch the Golden Globes? Because I subscribed to Paramount Plus and it was
right.
CBS. And so I thought, oh, I can probably watch it. Well, no, you had to have the Paramount Plus
Oh,
Showtime subscription. Like,
what?
just the Paramount Plus was not enough to be able to watch. Like, that is crap. And by the way, I'm going to go buy one of those antennas. I'm
Well,
going to see if that
I
works.
may have to as well because Tango or
NBC.
Taganga or whoever they are, is still holding up my NBC channel, and I can't. When I tell you I can't go without the
Yeah,
anything Olympics,
I know.
including the pre stuff.
I hear you. I hear you. But anyway, so I did watch the Golden Globes red carpet. And
Right.
listen, I'm old enough to remember when they started that.
Yep.
Joan Rivers
I remember.
was, the
Mhm.
original. And she was awesome. I don't know what kind of inanity was happening on that. Who are these people? I videoed a couple of them just because there was a guy who was like word salad interviewing these
I don't know who
people,
that would be.
asking the dumbest questions. He was interviewing J Lo, and she and I were both just like, "What is happening?" Anyway, and then there was a girl who was very southern, which great. Don't lean into that in a situation like
I
that.
don't know who
Like,
that is.
what are you doing? Anyway, it was just my comment on our notes is the Golden Globes red carpet. Do what?
Do what?
Do what? Like, that's what I just kept thinking. Anyway, so that was Sunday night. The other thing is to add to my things I don't understand. I've been reading a lot lately of people who get really angry at the folks who, when the plane lands and the seatbelt sign is turned off, those folks who immediately stand up. I've been hearing a lot of talk about
Yeah.
people who get
Where are
mad
they
about that.
going?
Why wouldn't you stand up? I don't understand the people who don't stand up. You've been sitting down in that tiny little seat for
Yeah.
however long it has been. Why do you not stand up at your first choice? Your back does not feel like my back. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
I
True.
can't wait to stand up. Why wouldn't you stand up? Like, my body is about to rebel at sitting in that little seat for as long as I have. I'm sick of the person next to me and their elbow in my side.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait to stand up. Now, I
I
understand people who are like, if somebody's already standing up,
yeah,
like trying to squeeze in or, trying to get your bag out and like I understand all that. Like that's a little much. But why don't you stand up?
yeah. I flew once a month for years for Geico. I have a lot of miles under my wings. And I like a window seat because I like to look out the window. And never did because even as short as I am, I would still have to duck. And that's just even more
Well,
uncomfortable than
like
sitting. Yeah.
that I
But on
don't
the aisle, if I ever got to the aisle, yeah, I'm getting up, I'm getting my bag out, I'm helping everybody else get their bag out.
right. Like, why do you not want somebody that can and has room? Why do you
Yes.
not want them to already be up and
Yeah.
have their bag removed so that you may
Yeah.
get out faster?
Yeah.
I do not understand the vitriol. And there's a
Um,
lot of vitriol I've
there
been
is. People
noticing.
get so angry.
Listen, y'all can be mad at me all you want. My butt's getting up.
Well, if I was on the aisle, I definitely would, but not at the window. It's just you're still like
Yeah, I don't stand up in
hunched.
the window because
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
standing up. That's crouching over.
It's crouching.
Um, but yeah, so all of that was sort of pre life. As of
Yeah.
4:15 yesterday morning, we have a distinct before and after in Mandee's life.
Okay.
I got so tickled all of a sudden on, let's see, what was yesterday? Tuesday. All of a sudden on Monday, all the restaurants in town who I follow on social media started posting that they were going to be closed due to weather on Tuesday. And I was like, well, what's happening? Like I've seen high wind forecasts, but I had
Yeah.
not seen anything else. And I was like, do I need to be concerned? Yes, yes, friends, I did need to be concerned.
Yes.
Um, so anybody who lives in the South was aware of this weather system we had coming. And as it got closer and closer, the meteorologists' warnings got more dire and more dire. And, all of us who are Southerners are
Yeah.
used to storms. We have all spent plenty of times in our closets, in
Yep.
our bathtubs, wherever. My beloved Noonan got hit by a Category 5 tornado a couple of years ago. It is bizarre,
Yep.
bizarre what happens after a Category 5 tornado. Um, so like we don't. It's not that we don't take it seriously. It's just that it happens so much
Yep.
that we are all we're well versed
Yeah.
in.
We know when and when not to.
Right. So you give me what's the not warning?
Watch.
You give me a watch and I'm like, great, thanks.
Yeah.
Whatever. I have all the notifications for watches turned off on my
Yep.
phone. I don't need to know about a watch. Thank you. But what that does mean is that when you get the warning, you better be ready to go and know where you're
Yep.
going because you ain't got time to think about it.
Mm-mm.
So, and the other thing is, golly, why do these things always happen in the middle of the night?
Right.
I mean, they're not always in the middle of the night, but golly, a lot of the time they're in
A
the
lot of
middle.
the time they are.
So, anyway, for those of you who may not know, I live in Santa Rosa Beach. I live on 30A. My balcony looks at 30A at a beach access. So, like, I can see the Gulf from my sofa. My condo has windows on, two sides. There's nowhere for me to get in my condo. Well, first of all, it's on the third floor. But second of all, there's nowhere in my condo where I can be without a window within 10 feet of me.
Yeah.
So I get in the stairwell, and the stairwell is directly outside of my door to my condo. I just, take a step and a half and I'm at the stairwell. And that's where I go. So I've lived there for 10 years. I've spent time in the stairwell. 9 times out of 10, I'm just staying on the third floor steps and hanging out.
Yeah.
When I have a dog there with me, it's happened plenty of times.
Yeah.
But it's funny. There was a couple that had a Jack Russell Terrier they were always on the beach when I had Etta, my original Weimaraner. They were always on the beach at the same time I was. And so I eventually talked to them, and they had moved to the beach from Arkansas after their home was leveled by a bad tornado. And so I was actually chatting with that lady one time, and she said, no, you really need to get to the bottom floor. She's like, if it's bad,
Yeah.
you must be on the bottom floor. And so that's always stuck with me. And the stairwell that's closest to my condo actually has, once you get to the bottom floor, then there's actually sort of like a little Harry Potter hidey hole under the stairs. And so I have long deemed in my head, if it were ever really bad, that's where I would go.
Yeah.
I've always thought that. So fast forward to yesterday morning, and I went to sleep thinking, what time am I going to be awakened, in the middle of the night by the storm? But okay. So sure enough, big thunderclap. I wake up, I pick up my phone. What time is it? How far did we make it? Where are we in the day? Well, it was like 4:15. And so I started to close my eyes and I said, no, you better go ahead and get up and pee while you got the chance. Because if a warning comes, like, I don't screw around when a warning hits. So I went ahead and went to the bathroom, and then I walked back and was standing at the balcony doors looking out. And I thought I should make a cup of coffee while I still have power, because we once were stranded in Nashville after the flood for 3 days with no caffeine. And so that's my PTSD.
Yeah.
If I'm in a storm, I'm going to get some caffeine in me. So I literally was thinking that, and I was filming an Instagram story, looking out my balcony doors when the warning hit.
Yeah.
And so no coffee. I just grabbed a sparkling water out of the refrigerator. I had worn pajamas that looked like clothes, because that's what you do.
Yep.
I had my tennis shoes sitting right there ready, so I could just slip into my tennis shoes. Grabbed a coat because I wasn't sure what was going on. And ducked straight down, all the way down to the first floor, and I was sitting on some steps on the first floor. And as I sat on those steps, I was again recording for Instagram, and
As
the
you do.
caption on that video was, "Oh yeah, this is bad. I'm getting under the stairs."
Yeah.
So I did. I got in my little Harry Potter hidey hole under the stairs. Again, still recording. I don't know what I was doing. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what I was doing, but I was recording. And recorded the moment that what they now think is an EF2 tornado came onshore from the Gulf, approximately 100 yards from my house.
So it came, okay, so I have a question. It came onshore from the Gulf. Does that mean it was a Sharknado?
It could have been.
Like, I have been waiting to ask you this question just on this podcast, because on your Facebook, somebody said something about a water spout, and I was like, oh my gosh, Mandee survived a literal Sharknado.
I don't know that there were actually any sharks, but yeah,
Well,
that's what it was. It was a water spout. They freak what they can freaking tell, these meteorologists. It's amazing. I
yeah,
couldn't get it because I was, in my concrete bunker.
right,
I couldn't actually get the internet to load at that moment. Plus I was filming.
right.
Um, but my friends who were monitoring it on, because they still have power, um, they were monitoring it on the Gulf and could see when it was still on the Gulf, that it had that hook. And so
Yeah,
went back and looked at the timestamps. I can't remember exactly what the times were, but from the time I was filming that video, from the time I got up and peed and was standing at my balcony door, to the time that I filmed that video under the stairs, was 5 minutes.
it's crazy.
Um,
For
so
those of you who are not in the South, and I know I don't look like a weather expert, but I used to do the weather for all of Geico when I was there. So I am a weather girl. A hook. If you hear your weather person say something about a bow echo or a hook, get in your basement immediately.
yep,
That's what it is. It's a tornado coming at you.
yep.
So
So that's what
wow,
they spotted, the hook when it was still out over the water.
wow, and
Because
you
from the
filmed it.
time I can see the Gulf from my
Yeah.
house. So the fact that we had 5 minutes to get where we needed to get before it hit, tells you
Yeah.
that they were looking at it when it was
Yeah.
still over the water.
How many people were with you in the bunker?
Not a one.
Stop it.
Now we are in the only off season we have is really right now. And but there was a woman there. I had seen a woman Monday afternoon, I was getting something out of my little storage room, which is on the second floor. And I had seen a woman, and I can't remember where she was. So my building's like an L
Uh-huh.
shape, and I'm on the leg that faces the water. So there's another leg that sort of faces the street.
Right.
And those units do not have as many windows.
Gotcha.
Like you could get in the bathroom in that unit and not have a window. But you're on the second floor.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know if that's where she was. I don't know, because I saw it when I was in my car charging my phone later yesterday morning. I saw her come out and get in her car. So she was there. She had to have been terrified.
Wow.
She had to have been terrified. Yeah, I was all by myself in my little
Well,
hidey hole.
you
She could have
had
gone
your
to the other
headlamp.
stairwell.
She could have.
She could have gone to the other stairwell. I don't, maybe she was. I don't know. She was not in my stairwell. Um, yeah, it was just me. So I filmed the video, and it's so funny. The only other time I remember being really scared during a tornado is when I was in elementary school and we lived in Birmingham.
Mm.
And that was a big one. I don't remember what it ended up being categorized as, but it was a big one.
Mhm.
And the fact I've probably lived through other big ones, but I was
Yeah.
like with my family or whatever. This was the fact that I was at school
Yeah.
that was so traumatic. But this is really the first one as an adult
That
that I
scared
can
you.
remember going, oh, is this it? Oh, is that what they're talking about when they say it sounds like a train
It
coming?
really okay, that was the other thing I was gonna say. When I was little, one came over our house. It didn't touch down, but it was right over
Mhm.
the house and caused some damage, which is also when I fell in love with the tree man at 9, but that's another story for another day. Um, but it seriously sounds like a train is coming at you. I mean, they say that, but it's very true. So you heard the train and everything?
Well, looking at that video, the video is different than living it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but looking at that video, I'm like, well, I was literally like, it was sort of like, is this happening?
Yeah.
Is this happening? Oh, is that what they're talking about? You're overreacting. There's a part in the video where you see me, like I'm under the stairs, but I'm still sort of like peeking out.
Yeah.
And then there's a moment where all this noise, and you can see me duck. Like I'm like, oh, I need to get further. My biggest fear was that door was going to blow open. And so I'm like, well, if that door blows open, I need to be under these stairs. So then I get under the stairs, but I keep my arm out to keep filming. What was I doing? Who do I
You
think I
look,
am?
investigative
I'm
journalism.
gonna go viral for this video,
You
and I'm gonna be
are.
dead because I got sucked out the door. Like, what is
Yes.
happening?
Yep.
But then it was funny because I was like, everybody's like, oh my God, I would be so terrified. And I really wasn't, because the whole time I'm sort of like trying to evaluate, is this really happening?
Yeah.
Is this it? Is this what everybody talks about? And then it became, well, if it is, there's not a thing in the world I can do about it.
Yeah. You've done all you can. You're in the basement.
Here I am. I'm in is the safest place I could possibly
Yeah.
get for what's happening. Like,
With your headlamp on.
I did not have a headlamp at that point. That was
Oh,
pre-headlamp. Yeah.
headlamp.
So yeah. But then I quit filming and I started texting. And it's funny, my friend Juju grew up, her dad was an executive with Alabama Power.
Ah,
And then Juju used to work for Gulf Power. And so when we would have a big storm, Juju would be in the bunker with all the like emergency folks. And so
yeah.
she would give us the like real deal weather reports. It was hysterical. She's a little like you. You wouldn't think she's a weather person, but she is.
Yeah.
So she's now quote unquote retired. But she's still like great with like weather stuff. And
Yeah.
so our book club, whenever we'd all be hunkering down somewhere, we'd be texting like, okay, Juju, tell us what we're doing. Tell us what's next. Tell us what's happening. Well, Carla has moved to DC and our friend Cindy is currently in Nashville. So at 4:15 in the morning, I'm like, well, I'm not texting the book club thread to wake everybody up. I'm just
Yeah.
texting Juju, but I am texting Juju.
Heck yeah.
So I texted Juju and it was 4:30 when I texted her. And I was like, y'all okay? Sounded like a big one just came on shore.
Yeah.
And because she lives north of 98, she lives over on the Bayside. And so a lot of times if it's heading that way, I'll get it before she will. And so
Right.
I was like, sounds like a big one's coming in. She's like, they just recorded 106-mile-per-hour wind gust at
That's crazy.
Edwelline, which is the beach access right across the street from me. And I was like, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, I heard it. Choo choo.
And then my friend Lane, who's the Alabama housewife, on
Yes.
Instagram, if y'all are friends with us on Instagram, you may have seen her comment there. Lane started texting me. They also live on the bay. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" Because everybody's saying there was 106 mile per
Yeah.
hour wind gust at Ebeline,
At your front door.
which is I mean, that's what I look at from my couch. So everybody's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" Like, I'm just here playing Harry Potter because I mean, I knew what I had lived through, but I
Yeah.
didn't know if I was overreacting or
Yeah.
what. So anyway, so then Lane's crazy butt, she and her husband decided, and so the other thing about the storm was there were several squalls coming through,
Right.
and that was just the first, and the worst squall was scheduled, they thought, to be there between like 9 and 10 or 8 and 9 or something, like
Yeah. Yeah.
9 was sort of, that was when the worst, thunderstorm squall, as we all know, tornadoes can pop up at any point, and there were straight line winds that we were worried about.
Also bad.
But the worst storm portion wasn't due for another couple of hours. So even after
Yeah.
we survived the
Sharknado.
4:15 Sharknado, we still got to be on high alert until like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Well, so Lane and Rick are like, we're going to get out and watch the sunset. I mean, the sunrise. I was like, have y'all lost your minds? Y'all are those crazy people we see on the TV.
Yes.
But by the way, if you're getting out, I could use some coffee and a flashlight. Because once I got out of Harry Potter land and went back upstairs to my condo, I got up there, and you know how when if you have like a shotgun house
Yeah.
and there's a balcony on that end, and you open those balcony doors, when you
Whoosh.
open that other door, it's like a vacuum.
Yep.
Well, when I opened my door to my condo, it wasn't as strong as it would be if both balcony doors would open, but there was definitely that force. I could feel that
Yeah.
blowback. And I thought, well, shit, those balcony doors have
Yep.
blown open. And so I walked up, and no, they were shut. And I was like, well, God bless, because we just got brand new balconies. That was a big deal. The old
Yeah.
balcony doors definitely would have blown open. And I'm like, well, what the hell? And so I get up there. Well, my air conditioning unit, which is like a hotel air conditioning unit,
Right.
that's like in the bottom, that's like shoved in there. The whole AC unit had been blown, not far, not bad, but it had been blown in.
Yeah.
And so there was like a corner, and it wasn't wide open, but it was a
Yeah.
corner of exposed wall. And so there was a nice little breeze and some water and
Yeah.
debris that had blown in. You will love the fact. So I had sitting on that air conditioning unit, I had my signed Smitten Kitchen cookbook and the cookbook you had sent me. So I'm like, oh God, my
Ah,
cookbooks are wet.
I love it.
So I snatched those puppies up real quick,
I love
dried
it.
them off.
Yeah.
Didn't worry about shoving the air conditioning unit back into place, because then it got real windy again. I'm like, no, peace out. I'm going back to Harry Potter land.
Yeah.
So I just left the hole in my wall
Well, the
and went back
cookbooks
down.
were saved. That's all that
I
matters.
got the books in a dry spot and then went back to Harry Potter land,
I love it.
where I sat for a while until Juju told me it was all clear and I could go back upstairs again. So anyway, then when I got back up, I was able to shove the air conditioning unit back in place. Who knows if it's going to work?
Yeah.
No. But the power had gone out
Yeah.
as the Sharknado passed over us, and it was out the rest of the day. So who knows? But so I have, for the 10 years I have lived there, I have had one of those giant yellow flashlights in this one closet that I have, like right there. That's where it lives. That's
Yeah.
where it always is, right there. And then I have replacement batteries in a couple different places as needed. That flashlight wasn't there. No idea where it is. It was
Oh,
not at
Lord.
the time. So then I was like, okay, well, I think there's a little flashlight in the drawer, in my bedside drawer. So sure enough, I went and got it. Well, that battery was dead. I'm like, no problem. I've got all the batteries. I can replace the battery. I still haven't figured out what kind of battery was in that flashlight. I do not know. So listen, for a couple of hours, the only lights I had were my phone flashlight and the blue and red lights from the police officers who were now blocking off
30A.
30A. We now know because there were two giant power lines, power poles leaning over 30A
Ooh.
about,
Yeah.
100 yards from my house. So anyway, that's Lane came. I said, well, if y'all crazy butts are gonna get out, could you bring me some coffee and a
Yeah.
flashlight? So they showed up about 7. They rolled in and brought me a whole carafe of freshly made coffee
Love it.
and gave me a headlamp.
It
Um,
the
they
headlamp is
also
my
told
favorite.
me they also told me to get in the back of the truck and come with them. Uh, but I was like, well, hell, listen, the old girl has proved herself.
Yeah.
And what if my air conditioning unit blows in again? I need to be there to shove it back into
Shove
place,
it back
So
in.
I was like, I may drive over there if I feel, if I
Oh,
decided. But then about that time, we got another warning, and me and my headlamp got back into Harry Potter land. And at that point, listen, I was real glad to have that headlamp because the emergency lights in the stairwell were done. So it was pitch black.
yeah.
Um, so the headlamp became very key. But we didn't have another tornado, just a lot of rain, and it was very windy
Yeah.
the rest of the day. So it was probably about 8 maybe when the meteorologists were like, okay, when you feel those cooler temperatures come in, the front is through, the danger is gone, it's still going to be windy all day. But it literally went from like 70 degrees to 40 degrees in
Shoo-wee.
about 30 minutes.
That's crazy.
And so got out. We've got some good friends that own a condo sort of in the back of the property. I'm on the where we're in the front, and so I wanted to go check on their place for them. And then I have a friend who owns a couple sort of in between. There's all kind of condos in this area, so I wanted to go check on both those properties for them. Because I was, at that point, I just knew 30A was blocked from where I could see, so I didn't
Yeah.
know if people were going to be able to get in there or not. And then one of the friends are in Nashville. So I get out to walk to check on their property, and I was like, oh, because I can see the parking lot
Right.
from where I am. And the dumbass mofos who own the coffee shop had not moved their tables
They were
in.
everywhere.
Thank God the wind blew the way it did because my car could have been totaled by those tables
Mm.
if it had blown towards where my
Yeah.
car was parked because they were all over the parking lot. And it's not like we didn't know the storm was happening,
Right.
as previously noted. I will say kudos to the Perfect Pig and to Shelby's, both of whom made sure all of their outdoor furniture was either moved indoors or secured.
How
Thank
nice is that?
you. Thank you. Um, but yeah, the coffee shop's furniture was everywhere, both in the parking lot and then around in the front as well. Um, and then I kept walking west on 30A, and that's when I saw like storefront windows were blown out.
Mm.
And then it's so obvious. It's like if you've ever driven through where a tornado has hit, like it's so obvious
Yeah.
where it went. And so you could see there's like one little holdout original house, and it sort of came right over that little house, took out those two power poles, snapped a tree, plumb in half. There was roofing material, insulation, and debris just everywhere.
Yeah.
But luckily our building, knock on wood, pending a roof inspection today, my particular building seems to have fared very well. Our The door to the lobby was ripped off its hinges, which looking at that, it's facing the same way as the door to the stairwell where I was.
Oh.
But the door to the stairwell where I was is tucked back in a little
Mm.
alcove. And I thought, whoo, wasn't
Yeah.
God looking out for me?
Yeah.
Um, because that was a little scary to see that. But other than that, I think like I said, pending the roof inspection today, I think my building is going to be fine.
Good.
But I think we may be the only building in Gulf Place that didn't have
Yeah.
at least roof damage.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad, they brought you a headlamp and some coffee because that headlamp gave me life.
So I took a shower because I didn't have power, but I could still take a
Yeah.
shower. And I had talked to Susie. I'm at my friend Susie's house where, home to Gracie, the gremlin dog who,
Yeah.
once fell off my bed while we were recording a podcast.
My favorite thing.
And I had to wake Susie up, let her sleep until I heard there was another storm coming in, and it was coming near Miramar, which is where she lives. And so I called her, I'm like, wake up and get in your closet.
Yeah. Or
Uh,
else.
and then I'm like, do you have power? Because I'm coming over there. Listen, I hope you all have a friend who you can be like, not can I, is it okay? But move over, I'm coming.
I'm coming. Yeah.
And by the way, I'm bringing the entire contents of my freezer, which those of you who have seen my freezer realize, listen, as I said yesterday, I have curated this freezer.
Yeah.
A freezer is a single girl's
Yes.
best friend.
Yes.
There are things in that freezer that are vital to my existence.
Yes.
So if you don't think I didn't fill 2 gigantic Trader Joe's freezer bags full of things from my freezer and bring them to Susie's freezer,
Yeah.
the good news is Susie's freezer and fridge are astoundingly empty. Astoundingly empty. I open them, I'm like, how do you live? What do you do? What is happening
I
here?
know, right?
So listen, I filled that sucker up.
Have I told y'all the Gogi story about her freezer and her peas on here yet?
I don't know, but she would be so proud of the number
She,
of bags of frozen peas that are in
let me
Susie's
tell
freezer.
you, it's a great story. I'll tell it next week, maybe. It's one of my favorite stories.
Well,
But
I feel
it's the
sure
same thing.
she would be so proud of me
She
right now.
would. Yeah.
Anyway, but in order to get all of that loaded up, and also, by the way, all of my dirty clothes, because yesterday was going to be laundry day.
Yeah.
I had to go up and down the stairs because guess what? The elevator doesn't work when you don't have power. So I had to go up and down the stairs, which were pitch black dark. So me and my headlamp.
Yeah.
So I just put that sucker on. In full disclosure, when I got out to walk around the property, I forgot that I had the headlamp on, and I told everybody I saw and talked to, I had a headlamp on, and then all of a sudden I was like, "Oh my God, I'm shining this in your face! I'm so sorry." Tell the girl when her headlamp's still on.
Tell
Or
the girl.
anyway, so I loaded up the car, and then I get in the car, and I'm trying to get out of my parking lot.
This is my favorite part.
And I mean, we've all done it, but do it on foot. Do not drive your car to a recent disaster area where people are trying to clean up and salvage. Like, I was fine. I shoved my AC unit back in. I mopped my floor. Like, I vacuumed. Hopefully, I'm done. That's it. But there were 2 stores whose front windows were smashed in the middle of a tornado. Like, there was debris. There were chairs. There was like, you don't need to be driving through here right now. And and by the way, the road is closed. So, like, typically there's a couple of different outlets. You can get out on 30A or you can get out on 393. That was not happening. So, once you get in there, there's only one way out. And the amount of cussing that I did, I've just loaded. I have been up since 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I have survived a Category 2 tornado in a stairwell.
Yeah.
I have loaded my car. I have packed the entire contents of my fridge and freezer. I have loaded them into my car up and down from the 3rd floor. I have loaded all of my dirty clothes. I have loaded all of the work things that I need to take with me. And now you are blocking my way of getting out of here just because you want to come look. I'm about to strangle you, person. Literally, there was a car just sitting still in the middle of like the driveway. I passed 2 cars past them just to get out of the parking lot. I was so mad. So, of course, I took to Instagram to record a video reflecting my anger. And in so doing, recorded it with the headlamp on my
Yep.
head and
Yep.
on.
Yep.
You can see the light
Yep.
shining on the roof of my car. I finally get out, driving and trying to calm down, and I decide I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A, get some God's chicken, because, good Georgia company, it's open. I pull into the Chick-fil-A. The girl comes to my car to take my order. I'm like, thank you so much for coming to work today. I know it could not have been easy for you to get here, but listen, you don't know how nourishing that is to my soul, and I thank you. But she's looking at me like, you're the craziest person I have ever seen. I'm thinking it's because I'm saying all that. And then I order and I roll up my window and I pull up and I realize, y'all, the headlamp's still on. Oh my God.
The crazy headlamp lady coming through to get some of the Lord's chicken.
Oh God. And then so I get here. Susie was gone. Susie, believe it or not, flew out yesterday. Her flight took off. Now, granted, a flight that was supposed to get there at 3:30 yesterday afternoon didn't get there till 1:30 in the morning, but she flew to Austin yesterday. So when I called her and woke her up, it was like, I'm coming to your house. Tell your dog sitter. No, I will text your dog sitter and
Yeah.
tell her not to come, but I'm coming to spend the night at your house. Just for tonight, not the whole time. But anyway, so I get to her house, and Gracie, of course, is thrilled to see me. And so eat my Chick-fil-A, and I'm like, Gracie, we're taking a nap. Y'all, when I finally laid down, I could not quit shaking. And
What?
I was nauseated. And it was like just that pure adrenaline
Stress.
come
Yeah.
down. It was just bizarre. It was bizarre.
Well, even for a Southern girl who's lived through 100 tornado watches, when it actually happens and you've got all that worry and angst, I am sure that it was a lot. So again, I'm really just glad you're okay. But the headlamp was giving me life yesterday. You cussing people out, trying to get out of your neighborhood was giving me life yesterday. All
Listen,
it did here was rain and wind all day long, all day
okay,
long.
well, and then that's the other thing
But,
too is,
you know,
it's moving from here up through Georgia. So I'm
yeah,
like, oh God, now we got to worry about everybody the rest
yep,
of the day.
yeah,
But yeah, no, it was so just, again, gets back to the whole give yourself grace. I was like,
yes,
the whole time, like when you're in it, you're trying to just stay focused on what you have to do to stay alive,
yeah,
then what you have to do to secure your property,
yeah,
then, what can you do to help your neighbor? Like
and
it's
then
just the next best
Jesus chicken.
step,
Yeah,
or with all this adrenaline
yeah,
running. And then it, like, once you can, like,
yeah,
release and you're safe and your phone's charged and you're showered and you've
yeah.
eaten and then it's like, holy shit, what just happened to
What
me?
just happened to me?
Um,
Yeah, 100%,
and
100%.
to come out, and to sit there and think, yeah, I'm scared, but am I overreacting to,
Mhm.
and then to walk out and be like, no, you did not
You
overreact.
did not ever react at all.
Oh,
Yeah,
so, it's just a lot. And I'm still like, even this morning, I'm like,
I know, I know.
and what was really bizarre is that, tornadoes are so isolated, and this one was small enough that even in my own town, like I'm getting emails from clients who live 20 minutes east of me
Mhm.
acting like it's business as normal.
Yeah,
But I'm like, oh no, no, no.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not business as normal for
Not where
me.
I am, yeah.
So
Um,
it's just crazy.
this sounds really harsh, but, when it's a corporate thing and you're doing it for work, it's different than living it. But at Geico, we didn't care all that much about tornadoes because it is so limited to exactly where the tornado was. It's not like
Hmm.
widespread like a hurricane or something. So, I mean, I tracked them, but not as much as I did the bigger storms. But, you still those are people in their homes and their lives and,
Yeah, and
you know
there's so many mobile home communities,
yes, on the
in
beach.
the northern part of our county.
Yeah.
And those folks were hit really hard. And then Panama City was hit. And it's wild now because as I once I started watching the weather, like we watched that Panama City
Yep.
tornado come in. I mean, it was the same exact thing we had just been through an hour earlier, and we watched it happen live on the
Yep.
air. And the news station is in Panama City, so I mean, you could hear it. You could
Yep.
like the whole like we watched it happen. So it was just wild. It was
It's
really wild.
crazy. It really
It's a
is.
long day.
Well, I can't say it enough. I'm glad you're okay. I'm worried about you. Um, my I was real surprised that Jim Cantori chose Iowa over the Florida Gulf Coast. Um, we used to track Jim Cantori, so in my section, because we all traveled, we could never keep up with where everybody was. So we had a map and we would have faces, our own faces, like, oh, so and so's in Utah this week, or so and so's in wherever. Well, Jim Cantori we tracked him as well. And so wherever, if he was in your state, you knew you were going to have some extra work that week.
Right.
But so I tracked Jim still, but he was in Iowa. I was like, Jim, what are you doing? You're missing all the fun.
Yeah.
So I wasn't as worried because he wasn't there. But then I thought, well, I think this was a missed opportunity. So Jim
Well, and it's
Cantori, you
too.
should ask me first.
Well, that's the thing about tornadoes too, is that they pop up. So
Yeah.
these storms were not that, and that's sort of like my point on Monday when all these restaurants started closing,
Yeah.
which I don't think those restaurants would have closed if we were in the middle of July and we
Right.
had the forecast that we had.
Right.
But they don't have anybody coming in anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of their folks work north of the 331 bridge. I mean, they live north of the
Yeah.
331 bridge and have to come into work over the bridge, which is always scary if you're going to be dealing with wind.
Yeah.
So, but had it been July, I don't think they would have closed. I think, there's no
Sure.
point in putting all these people in danger to come and not have any customers to serve. But, and you just never, that's the scary thing about tornadoes is you don't know when they're coming,
Yeah.
and you have 5 minutes
Hmm.
from the time you get the real warning before they hit.
Yeah.
So you just gotta be sitting on G waiting on O.
Now with your headlamp.
And listen, I will now have a headlamp in my bedside drawer.
It was
Um,
great. If you follow, you need, if you're a listener and not following us on Instagram, you need to, because I posted some things for Mandee since she couldn't do it. And it's just, they're great. So there's some video and some footage of her with the headlamp on.
I
And
might have dropped an F-bomb right before I very clearly ran over something, which I don't know what I ran over.
it's a tornado. No cuss words count.
Probably some insulation.
Jesus understands. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'm glad you're okay.
thanks, Katie. Me too.
So this week, moving on, now that we know Mandee is safe and secure and we have the full Harry Potter, the Harry Potter hidey hole is my favorite part. Well, there are lots of favorite parts, but that's one of my favorite parts. I thought I would talk to y'all about two things that I made this week and my last week before classes start back. One of which Mandee inspired last week when she talked about her easy breakfast, which was oatmeal. So my friend Becky and her mom gave me this great recipe for Amish baked oatmeal. It could not be easier. I got the rolled oats at at your DeKalb Farmers Market. That's what it's called, your DeKalb Farmers Market. I don't know why the your, but whatever.
Just
Um,
wondering.
Yep. So I got some rolled oats and I had everything else. So I made some Amish baked oatmeal. It is delicious. It is not a lot of it. So if you've got a crowd, I highly recommend doubling it. The other thing I recommend is make it and put it in the dish and then preheat your oven. Because if it sits there and soaks up the liquid, it's a lot creamier. That's a tip. And then the toppings, my favorite thing to do, which I did this time, is I sauteed some apples and a
Mhm.
little bit of apple juice, no, I didn't use brown sugar. I used, oh, I used our spice peach preserve. So
Yeah.
our friends at Pearson Farms have a new product. They have a set of 3 jams and jellies. One is a pepper jelly, which I can't wait to try, which I haven't tried yet. One's a regular peach jam, and then one is a spiced peach jam. And so to my apples and butter and pecans, I added a couple scoops of that instead of honey or brown sugar or something to make them sweeter. It was delicious. So I did the cooked apples on top of the oatmeal. Highly recommend. But
And
whatever you
listen,
like to top your oatmeal with, do it.
I love baked oatmeal because listen, sometimes it's even too much to get up in the morning and measure out 2/3 of liquid and a third of
Yeah.
oats and
Yeah.
cook it for 5 minutes. Sometimes it's too much.
Yeah.
So to just have a baked oatmeal that you can just
Yep.
pop in the microwave is great.
It was so good. And it was good the
Gracie,
second and third
stop
day.
licking.
Oh, Gracie, it's a face. The other thing I made this week, which this is kind of my last hurrah before I get back on my good food that I eat. Ugh. Uh, I'm just kidding. I do good stuff. Anyway, is a fruit custard pie. And the only reason I made it is because Mandee told me to get some Florida strawberries. And so when I was at your DeKalb Farmers Market, I saw some and grabbed them. And then I got them home and I went, what the heck am I supposed to do with these lovely Florida strawberries besides just eat them? And I went, oh, I have a good custard pie recipe.
Yum.
And it's almost like a buttermilk pie without the buttermilk.
Mm-hmm.
But the custard part is a little thicker because the fruit gives off so much juice that it thins it out when you cook it. And so you're going to make the custard and think, oh gosh, this is not going to work. But it's thicker and it's not as loose with the buttermilk because that fruit will give off a bunch of liquid and thin it out for you. It's really easy. It took 5 minutes to put together. It took longer to cut the strawberries up than it did to make the custard part. Um, you can make homemade whipped cream with it. It's just delicious. I usually make it in the summer, but when you told me to get those strawberries, and I did, because I do everything Mandee tells me, I went ahead and made it, and it is absolutely delicious. So,
Were the Florida strawberries good?
oh my gosh, they're fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
They are fantastic.
Who
Um,
knew?
they're so good, and they're bright red, like you were right about the whole thing. So they're these beautiful dark red small strawberries, and they're great. They're great.
Just
So,
what we all need to get us through January.
amen. So there we
Well,
go.
good. Well, thanks, Katie. That's
Of
delicious.
course.
Um, we'll blow through my favorites really quickly because y'all heard me talk enough today. Um, one of the things I've had a couple different people recently wanting to track their books, thinking it'll help them sort of keep track of what they read or help inspire them to read more. And I would recommend to y'all Goodreads, which is a great app if you don't already have it. I use it like, well, now that I have Libby, I don't ever go into the library. I'm gonna have to go to the library because in the middle of everything else, all of a sudden Libby wants me to verify my library card and I can't find it. So I've got to go to the
I've
library.
got to go too because I must have made my original library card with an old email address or something because it's not really working. So I need to go in myself. So that's a good reminder to me. That might happen today.
But what I used to do is when I would go into the library, I would pull up Goodreads and they have a books you want to read
Uh-huh.
list. And so I'd pull that list up to remember what it is I want to read to find something at the library. But they also, now what I use it for most is they have an annual reading challenge. And at the beginning of the year, you can set a goal as to how many books you want to read. And then as you read them, you just go in and check them off from your want to read to read.
Yep.
And then it'll keep track for you of which books you read that year. So then you can go back every year by year, and see, what you read when. So I would recommend that as we start the new year with some new reading goals. Birch has requested that we do a deep dive into like Substack and what it is and all that. We'll table that. We'll work on that next time because I've talked enough today.
Well,
Um,
uh, okay.
mean, you've recommended some, but like,
Well, and I'm going in and getting the ones that you
okay,
suggested
yeah.
too.
So
So
we'll talk about that.
yeah.
But then the last thing I will say is I think I've mentioned her before, Joy the Baker on
Oh, I love
Instagram.
Joy the Baker.
She's just so cool. Like she is a cool human being. Um, she is a great. I found her back in the blogging days. She does recipe development and publishes recipes, but she has been doing a feature recently. The most recent thing she did was chocolate chip cookies, but she's also done cinnamon rolls, I remember, and maybe some cakes, but it's like small batch baking. And so, like the most recent one was you could make two gigantic chocolate chip cookies. Here's your recipe for doing it. And it's, sort of like those mug cakes. If you just want something sweet, you don't want to bake something, you can do like those mug cakes. It's sort of like that, but these are like a real recipe, just scaled way down. For different, like I thought the cinnamon rolls were genius. But anyway, so that's just, if you're not following Joy on Instagram, you should. And if you're a single girl like us, Gracie, quit licking, then you should enjoy her small batch
Yes.
baking.
Love it. I love all those things. And yeah, we will dive into Substack.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll get there, Bertie, I promise.
Yeah.
I
Because
haven't
there's some
forgotten
really
about
good
you.
stuff. Yeah, Birch. Look, we had tornadoes. We had Sharknado week. This was Sharknado week.
Yeah, and she was leaving St. Simon's driving to South Carolina. I'm like, I don't know
Don't
that that's a good
don't do
idea.
that. Yeah. So from about Macon down, most of the schools were closed
Oh
yesterday.
yeah, listen, I've heard it all.
Yeah.
I've heard
I
it all.
checked in with the South Georgia branch of the family and everybody came through okay. All I got was a yes from the nephew. So
What
no
listen,
details, which is fine.
that's a lot. It's a
But
lot
hey,
from the
they're
nephew.
all right. So that's all that matters.
Yep.
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 I had Lake Katy in the front yard and the Parsonage River out the side. So a lot of rain, but nothing else. Thank
Okay.
goodness. So
Good. And the sun is shining now. So
yeah. I mean, for the first time in a week, I feel like. So I the winter blues are real for me. I need vitamin D in my life. And I just had a lot happening and it really got me last week. Like I had to force myself to get up out of the bed to go on my Katie day. I'm glad I did. And I don't normally get like that, but I'm really glad to
well, and
see
there's
sunshine.
my, s- my sister and I were talking about that because I was sort of in the same boat. And there's a fine line between the healthy recovering from the holidays and being around a bunch of people and taking time for yourself to recover, but it can pretty quickly tip over into that unhealthy of now I'm just gonna wallow in this
Yeah.
misery that
Yes.
I'm creating for myself.
Well,
Get
and
up
it's
and get out.
the grayness as
Yeah.
well just keeps you, and then it rained all day yesterday. I did not open the door. Um, for me, it's both things. I don't like this time without daylight savings time. I wish we had more sunshine during the day. Um, and yes, so it's both things hit at once, and it was
Hmm.
really just like, okay. So like today I'm going on a Trader Joe's run. I have to get out of the house.
Good.
My sweet girl canceled my hair appointment. And I'm like, I've got to find something. I've got to get out of here and get some sunshine. So
Well, good. Well,
yeah.
enjoy.
Yeah, you too. And next week, I will be back in school. Um
Exciting.
Yeah, I know. I really am excited. I will say that it is also scholarship time, so you have to reapply for some of these Methodist scholarships every year. So I'm doing that. I finished the last thing today, and that last thing was a recommendation that one of my professors has to write. And one of my favorite professors, I love them. I really do love them all. They're all fantastic. Dr. Elliott is one of my professors and advisors, and he sends this long form to fill out so he can adequately write a recommendation for you, which I appreciate, but it's longer than the application for the scholarship. And so I may or may not have tucked in some funny answers to like, what are your skill set? What are your special skills? Like I'm a forklift certified human kind of thing, just to see if he actually reads it.
There you go.
So I think that's partially why they think I'm funny is because I do stuff like that. I tuck in things just to see if they read it. So
Excellent.
I'm ready to get back in the swing of things and see everybody again.
Well,
So
good.
yeah.
Good, good. All right. Well,
Yeah.
everybody have a great week. Thanks
Have
for
a great
listening.
week, Brooker and Birch. We love you. And happy.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.